background vocal. And he's born in Tel Aviv, lives in Tequesta. He's a brainiac optics engineer.
Brainiac?
Yep, wears like bunny suit, lab, A1 lab conditions, building this lenses, lens that goes on the Mars rover and stuff like that. Let's see, Robert John Tucker plays drums, and he's born in Toledo by way of the Mission District in San Francisco, is where he lived when I met him. And he moved to Florida in August last year, 2019. And then we have a new bass player, and his name is Tom Cougter, C-O-U-G-H-T-E-R, Cougter. And he plays in a few bands around. He makes his living playing bass. And so he's been with us since about November or so. I'm very excited about that. I finally have a different bass, like a real bass player in my own band. Before I had, it was my friend played bass, basically, and he was just hung around. We gave him the bass and he played bass, and then 20 years later, I kind of started to get to real songwriting, not just covering songs, writing my own songs now, getting ready to make a record, this kind of thing. And so I had to have better players, and so that's kind of what we did. We got a new guy that can.
This is a different band, though.
This is, yeah, the four. Yeah, so there's three guys you saw at the Sagamore: Amir, Rob, myself, and Joe Ledesma was our old bass player, and now Tom is playing with us. So, because he can read and write music, reading, on bass, plays upright bass, all that. Way more advanced of a bass player than myself, even. And so to have, I spent most of my time playing bass, right? So the bass player in my band needs to be pretty serious, and I feel that I've really stepped up this time to have a real serious bass player. So that's that. And then we have a couple of guests. We have a new member. His name is Carl Schmid, S-C-H-M-I-D, and he plays violin, fiddle, both. He says I'm a violin player, and I said, well, even Itzhak Perlman says he's a fiddle player, so that's kind of where that's at. Yep. But he's added a whole new dimension to our band, so we're very excited about that. It just kind of came to us. We met him one time at one of these charity events, and then asked him to come over, and we've just been fascinated with him since that time. So he works with the Recovery Unplugged program, which is the National Addiction Recovery Program. He's a managing director in Fort Lauderdale. So all the right reasons. These people are going to be doing a gig with them at the end of the year. We're able to book about 16 or 18 months ahead of time now for the band, like a proper band would do, And so we pick 6 events a year to all benefits, and we just carefully choose who we're associated with and who the benefactors are going to be. Little Kids Rock is always my number one, and so they're always included in all of the events as my, main charity. But we're doing the Lighthouse Art Center, as you know, the 14th and 29th of February, Leap Day gig, along with our art show. It's going from Valentine's till March 4th. Happens to be my birthday. So we're going Valentine's to birthday, which is, we always try to do that kind of cosmic thing, and it's working out well this time. April, we're going to play at the Parish Hall at the church over here, Episcopal Church in Tequesta, and that's to help the choir, the kids' choir there, and the music program in the school.
Are these dates online anywhere?
Oh, they will be. These are just now coming together. That was the 25th of April.
Link in the story.
Yeah, 25th of April, and then we're going to do an upstate New York or Pennsylvania gig in the summer. There'll be one or the other. And then we're going to do a possible record release thing, if it works out that way, December 12 at the Funky Biscuit. And then the Maltz Theater, April 3, 2021. So yep. So these are short-term and long-term goals. So the Maltz will be the first, as far as I'm concerned, the first real gig. It'll be the first real proper gig with the right stage, backdrop, lights, all this thing. It's going to be something to look forward to for us. But
Nice.
mhm.
They do great productions there.
Yeah, I'm very excited. Nicole and I went and saw Chicago last Sunday on the closing day.
It's good.
And I haven't really been a big fan of musicals in my adult life anyway. I really enjoyed watching my older brother when he was in musicals through, you know, when I was a kid and stuff. I really enjoyed that, of course, because it was him. But then over time, it just didn't really, you know, I saw a couple on Broadway or Phantom or those things in the last 20 or 30 years, and I just took it in, tried to be, you know, take it in and appreciate. And it's been a long time since I've been, 20 years at least since I've been to a proper theater show. And I loved it.
Really?
I loved it. Now, maybe because the subject matter in Chicago, and they had some pretty fit folks up on the stage, and it was not hard to look at, and it was one, you know, and just, but the appeal and the energy of the people, and we got to sit with the dudes, so we had really great seats. So being that close, but I gained so much respect, moment by moment, for each person. And especially the leads. The one lead girl from Australia, the energy and the, like, almost making metal faces. You know, like when you know, like singing, like, and I'm going, yes, that's what I love. I mean, but they had to memorize every bit of it, just like we have to memorize when we do a show in a 2.5-hour concert and the 8-minute song, and it's not just going do 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 do. It's going, you know, like that. But there's no notes in front of us or pages to read. It's all here.
They're acting a story.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Love song, whatever.
And then don't have an instrument to hide behind or nothing. They're up there with their thing and just themselves and projecting like that as people are just magnifying through them, analyzing every single thing.
Live music.
And yes, some of the vocal power that, like, the one main lead guy had, just wow.
Mic'd in their wigs and
Yes, yeah, everybody had a microphone on their head and stuff. It's crazy. I'd never seen that before. But I was just really impressed by the production of the malts and how, for the size of a place that it is, it's wonderfully intimate, wonderful and professional. But it projected monster. I mean, it could have been on a stage 3 or 4 times its size and still worked. Those people were just, I'm getting bumps just thinking about the energy coming off. But the teamwork thing, like the orchestra was 9 people and they were crushing. And they're all up on different stairs and little things where you can't even see, like the bass player couldn't see the drummer.
Oh, their elevator, they weren't down in the pit.
No, but they're up on 3 different levels. Like the drummer's on that level, then this guy's on this one, and they're way up in the corner of the building, way up over there, mic'd and monitored. But the bass player not being able to make eye contact, to me, that's hard to compute. You know, it's like, and they're reading off sheets and they're going along thing, but they're not missing. And there was cartoon vibe, you know, like when the cartoon character takes a doo 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 doo, like that kind of step. But they did that shit live and hit it though.
Yeah.
That I was stunning. Anyway.
You need to see American Idiot, the Green Day.
Okay. Yes. Yeah. I want to see that one and the Book of Mormon.
It's
really bad.
surprisingly good.
Yeah. Good for them, right?
I've always been annoyed at Green Day, but I went to see it.
Fair enough. I think we're in the same boat on that one.
It's very good.
I'm ready to be impressed by. Not that I don't have a respect for them, but they weren't really ever my bag. But
It's a huge hit.
yeah. But and yes, absolutely, and for them to branch out.
Outside of it.
Yeah. To go away from what they became in Berkeley punks and then become that thing and branch out to that thing and be able to have a Broadway show from. But we all rode on somebody's back, right? On the shoulders of giants. All of us have been. Without Black Sabbath, I wouldn't be sitting here with you right now, right? Or the Ramones, really, for that matter. So we mixed all those things up together, right? There's no way that Metallica could have had the same kind of thing if we didn't hear the Ramones. So we'll give them credit for a lot of shit.
All right, let's go back with you.
Let's do, while we're jabbering.
What kind of music did you grow up with? Not what you ended up doing professionally, obviously.
I have one brother that's 8 years older and one brother 5 years older. And so I was born in 1963. I heard Hendrix and this kind of stuff pretty early in my life. And one brother was more he played trumpet.
Older brothers.
The oldest brother, Timothy, he played trumpet and cornet in marching band and symphony band and all that, was always first chair. So he was the guy that practiced an instrument in the house every day, right? And I learned to love the trumpet and the cornet. I would ask you to play these certain, you know, Hogan's Heroes theme or something like that, play that for me, you know, and then he'd get me out of his way and play it, and then he'd be on to his business or whatever like that. But his music choice, and because it was surrounding him in the time as a high school kid in 1970. We graduated in 74, I guess, from high school. So Earth, Wind and Fire, Ohio Players, James Brown, funk. You know, funk that everybody listened to was okay for a little white kid in the middle of a farm in Michigan, 8 miles from anything, learning about funk. My first album that I owned was the Jackson 5 third album. I got it for my 8th birthday from the same brother, James Jamerson on bass. So I didn't realize, just thinking about, whoa, I know, but the bass playing, holy, you can't, I mean, take the vocal, I take all of it out, I don't crap, just play the bass for me. And it's good enough. I mean, but I didn't know it then. And the other brother was more of a rock guy, so I stole records from each of their collections. So I stole the funk records from the older brother, and I stole Nazareth, Kiss, Alice Cooper, and so forth from the other brother, because that was what was playing around him, like late 70s rock radio in Michigan would have played all that stuff, you know, that kind of thing. But I didn't realize that the bass dominance of the funk music and that played the most is what attracted me. I didn't really understand until later that that's what made me like it so much, and it makes everybody like it, but for me, I applied it. I used to have a Tupperware container like that full of 45s, right? And the middle, it wasn't close and play, but it was close to it. You know, the furry turntable with the big arm and everything like that. And those records would all rub next to each other and get all scratched to hell, you know. But you'd dig and find the Buddha Records label or the, you know, whatever the cool, all through time. There was the RCA Victor and those things that you always recognize, Atco and everything, but the Buddha Records and that, you know, like the Psychedelic and those things, 1910 Fruit Gum Company, you know, different stuff you pull out. And that was my collection when I was 6 or 8 years old, was all the 45s that streamed down. Like my parents put their 45s in there, my brothers put their 45s in there. They became my record collection. So it was pop music from 1960. You know, Mamas and the Papas, big in our house. And in that day, my mom and dad would have been 30 years old, and they listened to Mamas and Papas and bought Mamas and Papas albums. I mean, yep, that kind of thing. Even though my dad was very conservative and, you know, didn't drink, didn't smoke, didn't swear, none of that kind of stuff. They still knew good music when they heard it, and I think it had enough of safe, churchy voice elements for that to be okay. Yeah, it was timeless, and it was hard not to like it. It was, you know what I mean, really appealing to everybody because of the wonderful voices. But I do remember, I'm going to say that the record that I wore the grooves out of first, and something that I'm kind of proud of, I didn't realize till much later, it was a vinyl box about like that had maybe a collection of 8 records inside it. And it was American Music Array. Okay, there's symphony and blues and did all these different things. Like the American Music Package. I don't even know what it would have been called. Another 2nd or 3rd track on the one that I always pull out of the 6th disc or whatever. Pick a Bale of Cotton was called. And it was Sonny Terry and Brownie McGhee, but I didn't know it then. So most of us, I'm hoping, one of my favorite movies is The Jerk, right? So Steve Martin and the black folks out on the cabin, and then when they get rich, they just build a bigger cabin, the same condition, just bigger. And as they're playing their way out of the show, and they're all dressed in white and everything, and he's doing the goofy dance. The 2 old cats that are sitting on the car seat or whatever in the front yard is Sonny Terry and Brownie McGhee. Okay, and they're playing that song.
Well, he's an old bluegrass guy.
Well, yeah, I know. Steve Martin, yeah, for sure, I know. But the tie to that, when I was 5 years old, that was my jam.
Oh, is your jam?
Okay, that was my jam. So I'd pull that out of that vinyl and put that on. I put it on my mom and dad's stereo, not on mine. The one that was like built into the thing with the speakers built behind the thing and all that. And reach in there and put the record in and track 3 and jump down, turn around, pick a bale of cotton, jump down, turn around, pick a bale of day. That thing, that went in deep, and I played it over and over and over again. So somehow.
So you're listening to a bunch of stuff, but the certain things are really popping out of you.
No doubt.
Really grabbing
no doubt. And that.
You don't know why. It's just, there is no why.
Mm-mm.
It just does or it doesn't.
Yep. It hits your spine, like that. And so I came to find out that, most of my heroes are African American, have been for, I don't know, even before I knew that they were. And so the music that came up, and something as I just research more into origins of Americana music and root music and American music, even though the white guys are the ones that became famous for it and maybe honed it and polished it and refined it or something, women and black men are the ones that are responsible for creating the music that we play today in the Chop House Band, or that Dolly Parton ended up playing, Johnny Cash ended up playing, or Jason Isbell, anybody. If we look very, very carefully at the origins. Okay, Charlie Patton and these kind of things, he was mixed, but we're talking about end of the 1800s. Okay, let's go back to here. Charlie Patton, mixed white and black person. Somewhat accepted because he still had blonde curly hair with his brown skin. That was his voice, right? With crazy steel, slide guitar on steel, metal on metal, metal on metal. End of the 1800s. A mixed person already doing that. When the Carter family started, when A.P. Carter started collecting the songs that became all of our standards, Will the Circle Be Unbroken? All these things like this. He went around the hills to collect it from a person. He'd drive 9 days if he heard that somebody had a riff and a song that he'd go and take. There was no tape recorders, and right? So he had to take. The man's name is Riddle. I want to say Leslie Riddle is the man's name, and he's a black man. And he traveled as A.P. Carter's recording device. A.P. Carter would scribble down the words and have scraps of paper in his pockets about the lyrics of the song, and Leslie Riddle would have the tune recorded like this on his guitar in his mind. Without that black man, we would not have those songs coming to us. Once those songs got to A.P. Carter, and he took them as his own, copyright and all that stuff, he still made sure the folks got their money, but he was the one that brought it to the world. The person that played those songs to the world and was accepted was a white woman. Right? Mother Maybelle Carter, she was the originator of the playing the bass part while you're doing the lead at the same time. She didn't, that was mom, that was the other mom, that was Mama, Sarah. She didn't realize what she was inventing at the time. She just knew that's how it had to sound, and she had to accompany herself. There's nobody else to play with. So she played the bass line while she was playing the lead. And that became influence on every player that ever came, Roy Clark, Chet Atkins, everybody, and every song that ever came that became Garth Brooks and whoever's a big country star now. Dierks Bentley or something like this. It all came from black men and white women playing the music and refining it and bringing it to us. So, right, so you were right about Elvis, like 55 years forward, 56 years forward. 1955 was the first year he recorded a song for his mom, right? But he hung around with more black folks and folks of color than he ever did. You know, there was always, from day one, sharecropping from day one, going to church, seeing those moves. He put white skin on that music and became accepted as that. At that time in our country, a world could not have been a black man doing that and being accepted. It had to be a white guy doing that on black moves, and that's why he became the single biggest entertainer of all time. But his moves and his vibe and Ain't Nothing But a Bear Cat became Ain't Nothing But a Hound Dog. But it was sang by Mama Thornton before it was sung by Elvis Presley.
He never wrote a song.
1.5 song credits. Elvis Presley has 1.5 song credits to his name, and they're half, half, and half. Jailhouse Rock and whatever and whatever. There are 3 of the early ones.
It wasn't his jam.
It wasn't a jam, but half credit, and half credit. Yeah, each one. But it wouldn't really matter because he performed whoever's songs, and he gets 50%. The songwriter gets 50, performer gets 50. But anyway, that's where it came from. I don't know how we started that, but the origins of music, black music, the funk, the bass, all of it.
Into your teens, so you were listening to glam stuff.
Still a lot of.
Those people were early 70s.
Yep, mid 70s, and Earth, Wind and Fire still was gigantic. Ohio players all through time, still gigantic. And then Bootsy, Parliament, and that came a little bit when I started getting 14 to 16 years old, and I started getting my own records. So I had Jeff Beck and Doobie Brothers and Parliament and
Were
Rush.
you able to start seeing these people live though? You were a teenager.
Yeah, so by now I have all these people, all my heroes I've met, all these people we're mentioning, I eventually got to become either acquaintances or friends with, which is really pretty crazy too. It comes right down to it. But yes, all those, got my first base when I was, I think, 14, maybe my 14th birthday. And so once that was kind of it. I remember I was playing saxophone in high school band right from 7th grade, marching and otherwise. And, you know, pretty cornball, man. Middle of Michigan, farmland thing, it was something to do, whatever. The coolest guy in the band at school was the guy that got to play the drum kit. Finally had introduced a drum kit into stage band or whatever. And before it was always just, you know, finally a real drum set in the band room. And the guy that played it, Andrew Buckley. That's, wow, I hadn't thought about that in a long time. He brought Kiss Dressed to Kill to school. And he was the drummer. He played the drum kit when we all were playing saxophones and trumpets. He was the cool guy. He brought the Kiss album. From that day on, it has never been the same. As soon as I saw that cover of Dressed to Kill, and that's them in the suits with the makeup on still, that was it. So when my next birthday came around, I wanted to be Gene Simmons. I asked for a bass, and my dad got me one. So for better or worse.
That was like the big kickoff into bass.
It was, yeah, and into everything I put, you know, at that point in my life, I was a farm kid. I was raising and showing horses on Michigan's circuit, local, national, local, regional, and state circuits with my horses, and raising, you know, rabbits. At any given time, I'd have 60 to 80 rabbits, and I sold them for meat and for meat and for pets. I also raised chickens. I would each spring I bought 50 Cornish hen chicks like this for 50 cents a piece. And I had to save my 25 bucks from selling my other stuff, from selling the eggs, get 25 bucks by those chicks. Those chicks all were sold for meat, because they're Cornish meat, and then had all laying hens. And I sold those eggs at church every Sunday. And so that's how I got my money together to buy my outfits and my cowboy hats and my boots and stuff. When I was 11 years old, I spent $110 on a pair of shark skin boots that I fit in for 5 months. But that's where
5 months for Matt.
I was rolling, though, if you think about that. I was 11, and I spent $100 for a pair of boots. That's how hard I was working with my own thing, and I kept my own books. I kept my own, all of that stuff, because my dad was an accountant. So I learned how to do that myself, and then have that for the horse feed and so on and so on. So, but the reason I told that was because that was my life then. I would go to school, shit on my boots. You know, I mean, I didn't think any, that's just how it is. Didn't think any different thing about it. Kiss came along, horses got sold, the rabbits got sold, the chickens got sold. It all went behind, and I just started going for the music. So there was, from a church youth group, Methodist church youth group, there were 4 of us, and we decided who were we going to be in Kiss. I said I was going to be Gene and Paul and Gene. Well, my brother's got a guitar, I'll be Ace. My brother's got a drum set, I'll be Peter. And I think I can get that guitar from my brother, and I'll be the other, you know. So that's how it all kind of started.
That's fine.
And then played bass and got in bands with guys that were you know, always 8 or 10 or 12 years older than me.
Did you want to go to New York, though?
No, California.
But they were in New York.
That didn't matter because they were huge in Michigan. They came to Pontiac, came to Detroit, came to, you know, Kalamazoo, came to, I mean, they were huge in Michigan first, yeah. Ohio and Michigan, but they were from New York, yes.
But they were
yeah.
out in New York, so you think it would make you...
I don't think I had that kind of purview yet of be able to say, like, well, New York's this place and I can go there and see Kiss or something. Don't think I had that. I think it was that because they were accessible enough within a 300-mile radius, and there was things, and they played them on the radio and those kind of things, I guess I maybe was close enough to them. But as far as the traveling thing, we always looked west. Really? You got to go to Los Angeles to be a star. And that's what I did ultimately when I became, I quit school, quit high school. When I'm playing bass, and I was in a band with guys, I was so, let's see, I was the day or 2 after that I turned 18, in 1981, I dropped out of school and went with these guys at 26 and 27 years old, rented a U-Haul, pulling a 1949 Dodge panel van, so our top speed was about 45 mile an hour. And I got in the back of this covered U-Haul 12-foot box truck with an English sheepdog, full-grown 4-year-old, okay, named Rudy. That was the guitar player's sheepdog. So him and his girlfriend were driving the truck, and one other guitar player in front, and then I was in the back with the dog. So we left Kalamazoo, Michigan on the third week of October 1981, and landed, we got into Flagstaff, Arizona, 30th of October. It was cold. Drove down out of the hills into Glendale, just outside of Phoenix. Parked in the Alpha Beta parking lot for a few days and camped there. So we landed on Halloween of 1981. Landed in Phoenix, basically. Went west to be rock stars, you know. So I had sold most of my record collection. I had $300. Had what was left of my records, my Gibson, Kalamazoo-made Gibson bass, my Big Sun bass amplifier, and whatever my possessions were in my mom's suitcases she was given as her college gift for graduate, you know, whatever, high school, college, graduation thing with her initials on. That's what I took my stuff in, and that's all I had. So we were in town in Phoenix before it was a town, before there was any buildings on, before there was any on Central Avenue, before there was even a two-story building on Central Avenue. And rented a house with no furniture in it, so we could have some place to stay. And it was just a really dumb move. It was a lot of.
How many guys?
So at that point, the one guy had already split, chickened out with the first week. And so it was myself and the guitar player that taught me my first chords and kind of taught me about rock and stuff. His name was Tim Hamlin. He's gone now, Hamlin. And him and his wife, a girlfriend, and myself, and a sheepdog. And we got this place on 3rd Avenue downtown. Second day that we were there, I got a job at the Submarine Sandwich Shop. It was about 4 blocks down, and then also a job dishwashing at Houlihan's restaurant. So I would work 9 to a little past 5 at the sub place making pizzas and submarine sandwiches, and then 6 to 2 or 3 a.m. washing dishes at Houlihan's. And I went for probably 6 or 7 months full on doing that, eating them little mini white caffeine wafers, little speed wafers, and my BMX bike, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. February 10th of 1982, I went to the music store on 16th Street in Indian School Road in Phoenix, and there's because it's very important, and I think that I've always had the aptitude for that thing. No, we can talk about that later, though.
You're writing it now.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah. No, I've gone all as far as getting the advance for my biography and stuff, and gave it back. So I've chosen not to do that yet. Anyway, so I'm using ad on the paper or ad on the wall in the music store. Said something about Rush and something else. A drummer looking for a bassist, band looking for a bassist. Called this kid up. Ends up being Kelly Smith. Go out to his house in Scottsdale. 72nd Street, I think it was, in Scottsdale. So his dad was pretty well to do. And for me, I was living in the back of this place, you know what I mean, skidding along. And go to this fancy place, and his dad lets us play in his office. And I go and set up my bass amp, and he's got a drum set that goes like 12 goddamn drums like this, you know what I mean? One of those. That was the day, like Neil Peart or whatever, you know, it's 1981, 82, February 82. And going to start playing, so that's the beginning of Flotsam and Jetsam. We called ourselves Dogs first. It was D-O-G-Z for a few years, and then we became Flotsam and Jetsam. It was basically the same members, but Kelly, David Smith, and I started that band in February of 1982. So we played Rush, Judas Priest, covers, yep, and then a couple originals too. Yep, always had originals. From playing with the older guys, I learned to write originals pretty early. Actually, when I got my first guitar when I was 9. It was a Sears Roebuck student model, like acoustic guitar, and so I wrote songs then on the big, like kindergarten space paper. Was like you write the letter, you know what I mean? And so I just didn't know anything about this part, or really this part. Right? So any of this, or this part's a pretty big part too. Like knowing how to tune it. I kind of like tune it, yeah. So whatever the tuning happened to be, it was always left hand optional. And I would do like 1, 1, 3, 3, 2, 2, 1, and I would write that down. 1, 1, 3, 3, 2, 2, 1. Whatever it sounded like, it was A or a Q or a B. There was no way to tell if it was in tune or anything at that point. But I'd write songs about Jesus. You know, like 1, 2, 3, 3, and sing songs about Jesus and write them all down and have my little notebook with my songs in it. So I did it for a little while. There was never any, I didn't, Dad didn't go take a guitar lesson, learn how to tune the thing. Here's a C, here's an A. It was never that. It was just whatever you could make the sound out of it. And then the Kiss thing happened.
So you never took lessons?
No, no.
Just picked it up and
I took one lesson in my life, one. When I first got my bass, I took one the first week, and that was it. When I started getting into the bass and started getting started before I got my real bass, it was a guitar that had 3 tuners on each side, and so I took the 2 middle pegs off so it would have 4 like a bass, and then I didn't know about moving the bridge or the nut, so there's just one going down this side and one going down this side and 2 down the middle, right? but it's a bass now, man, and I'd get the biggest strings I could, and I put all big ones on there. Didn't matter if it's the right gauge or nothing. Just 4 big ones going on there. I wanted to have a bass. So for those few months before my dad actually got me my real bass, that was the thing, and it still exists. It still sits on my bed in that house where my dad lives. Anyway, so 9 for a guitar, and writing songs, 14 for a bass, and then took off with those guys at 18. Got with Kelly at 19, just almost 19 years old when I met Kelly. We started working to get songs together and find another guitar player and possibly a singer, but we couldn't find one, so I ended up singing. Excuse me. Where'd that sound come from? Here. And we started doing gigs around Phoenix at the high school, and most of the members were still too young to play in the bar, so we would sneak, they could come in the back and play, and then they have to go right back out. So we did that for the first couple of years. Let's see, built pretty good following in Phoenix, in the area, Tempe and Mesa and so forth around the college. And then won 2 Battle of the Band contests in 1985. And one of them the prize was 1 day of recording at a proper recording studio with an engineer. And that was just, oh my God, oh my God. And we were so well rehearsed. I ran it like a freaking, I really did. And like to the point where the guys would literally everybody had something because I always tried to be so like that about it. We got to do this, we got to get better, we got to do this, we got to do it. And back then it was, man, it was choreo, everything, man, it was everything. Way more about what you were wearing and these things, but you had to have the prowess, you had to be able to play, you had to remember all that stuff, all those kind of things. But so anyway, yeah, when I got my bass, the first week I went for a lesson in Kalamazoo, Michigan. I learned the C major scale the first time. And then after that, I just learned from records and from watching people and soaking it up from older players around me and stuff like that. So, jumping back to Phoenix, we went and recorded a demo, the whole thing in the 1 day that we had, because that's how rehearsed we were. So you
won.
So you won and got the thing. We set up and recorded and mastered a 6-song demo in 1 day. And it was, it was the original Flotsam songs, like all that stuff. And played them live. Everybody played them live. Vocalist went and did overdub on the vocal, and that was it. Just powered through it like we would in rehearsal. That's how rehearsed we were. Sent this demo out. At that point, I was long before the internet and all those kind of things. So, absolutely, and I was that guy. I was the tape trader and the correspondent from our camp, and I learned that just like Lars and everybody else that was doing it at the same time. Keep in mind, this was all running parallel with the infancy of Metallica. Exactly the same months, the same weeks, and the same days. Lars and James were getting together, forming their band, as I got together with Kelly, forming my band. The same months. So they were able to come out with a record in '83. We didn't get to come out with it in '85. So we sent this demo. I sent this demo out one tape at a time, one packet at a time. I would line them all up with all my custom tags. These ones for Italy, Belgium, yep, all of it. The whole my press kit before I even knew what it was, and had about 20 countries that was trying to get through to. Basically, that I would go back and forth with. And Kerrang! Magazine in England, they were probably the fourth or fifth to recognize it. Metal Chaos in Italy and Metal Hammer in Holland, and those recognized it first. But Kerrang! Reviewed the demo.
Really?
And there was, I'm getting bumps, there was a 5K possibility, it's 1 through 5K rating, and they gave our demo 6 Ks. And there's only been 2 other acts and 2 other albums produced ever that got 6 Ks. And as far as I know, I don't know if there's been since, but to that time there was only 2, and one of them was Iron Maiden. And for an album. And this is just our demo. And so that...
I'm surprised they were reviewing demos.
Yeah, it was, well, they had one page that was demo-itis or whatever they called it, and that was it, and that got a proper review amongst all the other, but it was with the other records.
Big deal?
Yep, big deal. And so once, as you probably are aware of, and a lot of people that are fans or in music enough, if you're big in England, you're big in the world. So if you can hit it there and you can impress the press in Great Britain, you have a really good chance of succeeding in the world. Especially, I mean, if you're big in England and you're from England, if you're big in England and you're not from England, big deal.
Bigger.
Big deal, because they've, you know, tolerated you, and the old are actually quite good, you know, that kind of thing, as if they knew better or something. So once you get that kind of press there, and especially in the little metal circle that exists in it, like this, you know, that was a big deal for us. And so the word of mouth started to spread. So immediately get a record deal with Metal Blade, go out to Los Angeles, sign a deal with Brian Slagle. We make the record. In 6 days, completed the whole album from setup to mastering. 6 days. For the Doomsday for the Deceiver was the first Flotsam album.
So did you have some of the songs that were on that demo?
Yes, yep, handful, yep. Not many months after that record was released, Cliff died. September '86. And so this time from '84 until that time, I was in correspondence with there was always about 30 people that I made sure to send everything to. Every photo, every flyer. Didn't matter if they were 3,000 miles away, we're playing tomorrow night. I still sent it. Had a new photo, had a new logo, whatever like that. Just do it. And just for the word of mouth, just for them to know we're still working. So 2 of these people were Brian Slagle from Metal Blade Records and Michael Alago from Elektra Records. He came to love Flotsam, you know, way before there was any kind of anything going on. He knew that there was something there with that band. You could tell it was rehearsed, man. You could tell these guys were serious.
Did you read about him in that magazine?
And he might have, but I mean, he was... I can't remember exactly how we got. I think I might have just sent it. I might have just sent it out of the blue. Yeah, I think I might have done it just out of the blue as one of the guys that I sent my demo to, and he was attracted to it. So we kind of always kept in touch. And when this came up, you know, I remember the morning of would have been probably the 29th of September by the time it got into the papers in America. So it was a weekend. It was Sunday morning. Was in the townhouse with my then girlfriend early in the morning. Got the paper, opened it up. There's that blurb: bassist Cliff Burton killed in a bus accident in Sweden. I mean, they were our heroes. They were what we aspired to be. Absolutely aspired to be. Right? I mean, Iron Maiden, Metallica, that was it, but they were this new thing. It was so special. And we learned most of their record, and it covered most of it over through that time and whatever. And I remember the tears hitting the page, you know, like, I can't, what are they going to do now? What are we going to do? What are they going to do? What are we going to do? Because they're leading this whole fucking thing. They're the spearhead for all of it. What happens if they go away? They're breaking all the walls down for all of us to be heard and stuff. Like, I just thought to myself, you know, they should just stop. The blueprints, here's the blueprints for this genre of music. Kill 'Em All, Ride the Lightning, and Master of Puppets. We put out in 3 years' time that amount of music, that magnitude. What effect it had on all of us in those circles. They should just quit. Show everybody that's the blueprints. Follow this, right? Thinking about it, and then not too long after, I'm like, no way. Wednesday, Michael calls. You know, they're going to have to keep going. I'm like, oh boy. No, I don't know, man. I don't know. Maybe call me if they're thinking about it or whatever.
But you're still in
So,
Phoenix.
yeah, that's right. And I'm landscaping. Was 4:30 a.m. to 12:30, noon 30 was my day, because by the time it gets noon 30 in Scottsdale, Arizona, it's 112 in the shade. So you want to be, you know, that was my day. So by the time I get home at 1 o'clock, I got enough time to get my tapes together, to do my correspondence again, get to the post office at 4:55 with all my customs things in my thing, and they see me coming, they're just dreading, and they know because I do it all the time. So the lady just, fuck, right? And there I come and I set myself, I got it all prepped, I'm good to go, but it still takes the time, you know. And where am I going now? Oh, so a couple of weeks passed, and I keep doing my thing. I'm doing my landscape, and I'm doing this and doing that, and all the talk is all the talk. And we got, you know, Cliff and everything, and we've got our shows happening. We do a couple a month with Flotsam, and they're getting bigger and bigger, and the following's getting bigger. Got our album out now. We got new T-shirts and stuff, and things are happening. We're kings of our city now, as it were, in that circle. And I remember had it been mid-October of '86, we had a gig at one of the bigger, newer places, and we all wore black armbands. And about 10 days later, Michael calls. They're going to do it. Do you think you could do this? Are you interested in doing this? I think you should do it. I think you're their man. Brian Slagle, Jay, they're doing this. I think you should do it. I think you're their man. I told Lars. I told Lars. I'm like, fuck, all right. Line it up, dude.
You hadn't even met him?
No, I had not met Michael in person yet. Nope. He arranged the audition. I went around borrowing $10 from that friend and $12 from that friend, $6 from that friend, and that to get money for to get no. And I was, you know, and I wasn't working at Hula Hands or the thing. I wasn't putting those hours anymore. I was skidding, doing groundskeeping, living off my girlfriend, and you know, the general 21-year-old, 22-year-old rock star thing. Where does the girl drop? But what? How's the guy? I already blew it. I already blew it. Fuck. What does the girl do with her asshole just before she goes to work? Drops him off at band practice. Okay, so that's where I wanted. Yeah. Anyway, she was taking care of everything, and I was kind of skidding along. So it was a very exciting thing. So,
Every great man.
Yes. Get all the money together, $116 or whatever it is, to get a ticket to go to San Francisco, and then end up in Hayward, California, at the Metallica then headquarters to do this audition. So they call 48 people for the week. 48 people for the week. And I got there on the second day of auditions. And I got the early flight. So I was there at a little after 9 a.m. it was a U-shaped courtyard, all the doors facing in. And a lot of bands, Bay Area bands, rehearsed there. The first guy I met was Alex Skolnick, guitar player of then Legacy, now Testament. I kind of creep up this open door, and I hear, you know, and I walk up there, hey man, you know, how you doing? And I say, hey, I introduce myself, and I'm going to audition. You are? Wow, they're doing that? And yeah, well, good luck, man, you know. And I stepped back for a second, just kind of hanging out in the room. They didn't say get out of here or nothing. So he's standing there, and he's got on Crossroads, Ralph Macchio Crossroads movie with Steve Vai.
Oh, yeah.
And Ralph Macchio, Dinkle does his blues thing or whatever. Steve Vai goes, all that stuff, right? And then Alex stopped the tape, and he goes the same thing. And I'm like, holy shit! Like, we were in Phoenix in our own little microcosm. We were the kings of this block of the world right here. And it wasn't Phoenix yet. It was like desert, you know? And we were the kings of that place, and we could do pretty good with our own stuff. Our songs, we play very well, you know? Like that, yeah, but try to play something else is what we knew. But I mean, I stepped into that, and I already knew. I'd been practicing. My fingers were bleeding. I was practicing so hard to get these songs together for the Metallica audition. And I watched him do that. And this is my first introduction to Bay Area players in the flesh. I had Testament records. I had his record, right? And I'm like, oh. So when I go stepping with those guys, this is the caliber I have to be up to. I'm like, oh my God. And you know, I'm like, oh, you know, really.
But you're there.
So they finally got there. They get there at 10, maybe a little after 10. The band rolls up in the driver, and they all kind of pile out of the thing. They were already drinking. And James was on the Silver Bullet then, so he had 2 in each hand. So he stacked on one and stacked like that. And because Cliff was only 20 days gone or 25 days gone. And so they had been either drunk, smacked, whatever. To them, it didn't matter anymore. How many of them blue pills could I eat? Does it fucking matter? No, Cliff's gone.
It's raw.
Yeah, so it doesn't matter. And they're 22 and 23 years old. And everybody's from a broken home. Nobody's got like a thing where we got this family stability and this is how we handle grief. You know, there's nah. Everybody just and just like that.
Something specific, or they just felt like they knew it when they heard it. They didn't know.
They knew. What was that?
What they were looking for
in a bass player?
Auditions.
Aptitude. Yep, natural ability. You know, that kind of thing. Look, vibrations. And first and foremost, attitude. Yes, yes, yeah. Attitude is number 1, ability is number 2, then whatever after that. So I got there before they did, early in the morning. They auditioned 15 guys that day. Lars wanted me to play last that day because these are all the guys. Then we're playing with the guy. This is the guy that the first guy we ever made music with in our lives is named Brian Slagle. The guy that signed us to the big label is named Michael Alago. These 2 guys that broke us have said the same name. They didn't say the same name of any of the other 48. They only said this guy's name each, common from both coasts. You're playing last. Okay, so I sit there. I got myself tucked into like a little cubby of all their road cases. You know, yep, yes. And I would come in and look through the glass for a minute. And I'd say, nah. I do my judgment right away too. And I look them up and down. Look at the bass. Nope, not a problem. Go back to my thing. Got my little pipe. And do my thing like just keeping it going. Yeah, all day long, man. And the guy, you want a sandwich, man? Yeah, I'll have a sandwich. Cool. And they pass the sandwich back in there. So it gets to be the evening. And I don't know how many beers everybody was in by then, but Jane was pretty far in. 9 or 13 at least, I'm sure, by then. And I remember that there was one guy about the 9th or 11th guy. He'd flown from Carolina or something, all the way, coast to coast, all the way. And he comes walking in the room. Everybody had to make the same entrance. You're playing out of Cliff's blown amplifiers. There's one speaker working out of 6. And it just goes, right, the whole time. And if you chose to play his bass, it's sitting there. If you didn't bring your own or whatever, that kind of thing, which is, I mean, already. You walk in like, plugging into what? You know, that kind of, that's the amp we have, dude. You know, that kind of thing. You were freaking out. Anyway, so I'm watching just like they're watching everybody that comes in the door. Yeah, really, really bad. Because you're already looking like this. You've already memorized all their songs, all their stuff. You're already looking like this when you walk in. Same height, but you're looking like this. you know.
And then there's the bass.
And there's everything else, and there's dude behind the drum, there's a Metallica logo, there's the Explorer hanging over James there, you know what I mean? It's just like, holy fuck. One guy walks in, and he's got, you know, he's got the thing, and kind of like almost a Barry Gibb vibe, and two color hair, like blonde and then different color hair, and boots outside of his pants with the fringe. And he walks in, and James is kind of coming out, and he just goes like, next, like that. Dude did not even get to plug in. He flew from fucking Carolina.
The look blew it.
He didn't even get to plug in.
The look took
Didn't get to play one note.
Ouch.
Back around, out the door, next guy comes in. Oh, and I'm going, holy shit. And I still got an hour before I'm going in there. They're worn out. They're playing the same songs with all these dudes that are missing notes and like, oh my God. So they're just, fuck, right? So finally I get in there, and I've got my Flotsam stationery with the Flotsam heading, you know, that I've used with my correspondence and my thing and everything. And I've got their set list written down that they played the last time they were in Phoenix. That's the songs they played with Ozzy. I'm like, I know these. And he goes,
All of them?
that's our set list. And I go, let's go, call one out. And we were only, they gave me 4 songs to learn, and I had those 14 or whatever. And he goes, all right, let's go right from the top, let's go. And we did it, boom. Yeah, and they're like, okay. And then I went home that night, worn out, just worn out. And also emotional, oh my God, and just holy shit, and just the whole intensity of it and the anticipation of it and the thing. And you actually get to go and stand in the room with your heroes and play loud as fuck and do the best that you've ever done. Here's your chance. Everything you've worked for, opportunity is when preparedness meets luck or something like that. What is that all about? Anyway, preparedness meets opportunity is luck? I don't know. Anyway, so the next day, Lars calls me. We'd like you to come back tomorrow or 2 days or something and know these many more songs.
Second interview.
And I'm like, all right, cool. But now I got to get money for another plane ticket. So I worked it out and got back up there, and they had called 3 people back out of the 50. And it was Troy Gregory, who ended up taking my place in Flotsam, and Willie Lang, who played for a band called Laaz Rocket, L-A-A-Z Rocket, out of San Francisco, who is passed now. They wanted me to play last again. So the other 2 guys, and these guys were good.
That last.
They were good. And Troy was really good.
It's only 3.
Yeah. It was down to it. They were picking somebody in the next 30 hours. They were picking somebody. And you got to think that like Les Claypool came and played and all that, and he just monster bassists. They could run circles around me, but that wasn't the point. It's about the fit, like you're asking. It's about the fit. And I dressed like them, and I talked like them, and I played like them. And then that was that thing. And so we all went away from that place that night, and they said, we're going out to have beers. And that's the thing, is that at that time they're known as Alcoholica. And so that's, so part of the fit is that. Yes. And I was about 124 pounds soaking wet, probably. Really pretty malnourished, I imagine, at that point. And so we went to Tommy's joint in San Francisco, and they had 50 beers on tap, And so you start bringing them and having this, whatever that thing that they corned beef this or something that they got all just, at that place. It's just that, mostly that. No, Michael wasn't there yet. Yep. And so we're sitting in this booth and hanging out there and getting pretty hammered. And I was really trying to be careful, but I was pretty lit. And so I look up and I find myself sitting at the booth by myself. And I'm like, I really didn't really remember what happened. And they all went in the bathroom together. And the story goes that they went in and said, is that him? Is that him? Is that him? That's him.
They were having a
That's it.
conference
They
in
said,
the
yeah,
bathroom?
that's him. That's him. That's him. So they come back out and sit down at the booth. Go, you want a job? And I'm like,
The bar.
and they sit at the booth. Yeah. And I said, yeah. I made a loud noise, Yes, I think that'd be great. And he said, okay, man, tomorrow at 10, blah, 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 and then we're doing this and doing that. And 11 days later, we're touring Japan.
Wow.
For the first time. Metallica in Japan for the first time, and me for the first time.
The next day, so then it was literally at the bar.
It was at the bar, the four of us together. And then the next day I got a call from Cliff Bernstein and, you know, Michael and everybody. And then I met Michael 3 weeks later in New York when we came back from Japan for the first time.
So it changes your life?
Everything, 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 everything forever. Forever, and my family.
You had to
And
move right away?
I lived in apartments in the Bay Area for a while and then rented homes there for a couple of years and then eventually bought a home in outside of Berkeley in 1988-89, so 3 years later. We all bought houses the break of 1989.
So that was 86?
October 29th of 86 is when I joined. So got there in Halloween of 81 and basically joined the band 5 years later to the day. Halloween, Halloween, Halloween.
Everybody's in costumes and stuff.
Yeah, even if they're not. Yeah, yeah. Kind of crazy how dates work like that.
All right, so I don't know that we need to go through the whole Metallica years, but then you're out of the band when you had the injury and had the recovery period. So did you stop with music then, or you just needed to take a step back and focus on getting better?
So I had 3 different shoulder surgeries from 2004 to 2008. So I stepped out of the band in January of 2001. I was already neck deep in a project called Echo Brain. And I started with a couple of young guys from South San Francisco. So we toured that, made a record, rave reviews, did very well, even without anybody's help. And then I stepped away from that and joined Montreal heavy metal band Voivod in 2002. We made 4 records together through 2010. Did some touring with them. The surgery stuff, first my right one went down and I had, there was an injury in the studio. I had dealing with a big bass amp and it ripped my shoulder apart, tore my bicep, and all was pretty severe. So within the first couple of weeks, I was kind of locked like this with that brace thing, and I was able to fit a Parker Fly as a composite guitar about this thick, and it weighs about 2 pounds. So I could fit it in between my belly and my brace, and I could go like that. So I finger pick, learned how to finger pick, because that's all I could do, which now I'm really happy about. But so I just could play like that for a little bit, and then over time did rehab and everything. So in the meantime, while this one was debilitated, you know, you have to learn to do everything with this out of necessity. So because I didn't like to sit around, it was really after a week or two, I just couldn't even, it was like I was really going a bit mental, having to sit still. And so I went to do everything that I could do it anyway, and do it with this arm. And while this one was like this, I tore this one from overuse. So by the time this one was rehabbed and ready, I went to surgery for this one. So while this one was like this, I ripped this one again, doing the same thing. I wouldn't calm down. So once this was rehabbed, back here again. So it took a 4-year time and Vicodin the whole time. So 5 to 6 years, full Vicodin addiction, fucking full. And I'm so grateful that nobody gave me OxyContin, nobody gave me whatever the other things that were more than that. I just knew that drug. So, and also something I've done for a long time, I write down everything I put in my body. So I have the little moleskins that go this way, the moleskin paper, journals. And
Are you aware of this because of just the addictions or the substances you had been seeing around all those years?
I think it had to do when I got into bicycling really heavy, mountain biking, and I was being really careful about my intake and my proteins and my calories and my bee pollen and my chlorella and all my different things to do my thing. Yeah, and in that day when we were playing, 2.5-hour show minimum, 200 shows a year, This is as much as any basketball game, as any, you know, not football, but basketball and those kind of things were non-contact deal, that energy. And it's not just, you know, it's everything. It's mental, it's memory, it's physical, it's everything at once. It's entertaining. You have to do all of it at the same time. So that thing, you can't be slouchy. You can't be slobby. You got to be in shape to be in that kind of a band at that time. And so that all of us prided ourselves in that no one was going to be the weak link. None of us was going to be the weak link. So everybody had their own way about keeping themselves fit. You know, Lars has run every day as long as I've known him, 30 whatever years, he's run most of those days that I've known him. You know, jog, he got it from his dad. He's always been that guy. Kirk has done his yoga ever since I've known him. Kirk's been a vegetarian ever since I knew him. Everybody looked out in their own way to keep their fitness. So in that time when I was concentrated on that, when on the rider, when you get that thing and that protein, the Metarex and the that's what it came down to. So I would write I did that protein and that thing and that thing, and I'd also write, you know, I drank 3 beers and had 4 shots. And I write all that stuff, then I look over the month, 70 shots that month, dude, what the fuck? You know, like that kind of, but that's what it is, that's what happens. If somebody else wrote that down, you'd also be going, whoa. So I did that, and I still do. I did it this morning. I do it every morning. I write what I did the day before, and that helps me remember the day also. So I write a little diary of what happened in the day, like I did that song, I played that many hours of guitar, you know, whatever special things happened, that picture, whatever. And then this is the thing, I had that for breakfast, and the thing, so years and years and years and years and years, decades. So,
I'll help you with a book.
when it came, yes, true. And it helps me so much when there's discussions either with family or with my wife or something like that, and she'd go, "Do we do that thing in New York with the thing in the car? You know, we did that license thing." And I go, "License, New York, August 12th," you know, or like that. So but it'll just be one little snip that only I can really read it. But what my point was that when I was taking medicine, I wrote down every time I took it, every time, and I got to a point where I only took that much, and I wouldn't allow myself to take any more than that during the day. I'd just get to the spot that kept me going, right? They actually kept me normal because I was so addicted. That's what my body was used to. Yeah. So it's like a drinker with a drink. If you don't have it, you go fucking crazy. And with this kind of stuff, I didn't, you know, if you stop, it's really dangerous. So I just have that much, and I'd always write it down. So I could have so easily been right there. There's Heath Ledger, there's Jason. It could have been absolutely. I was taking the same medicines. Could have been absolutely, but it wasn't because I wrote it down. I ended up with a different ending. The scariest time that I ever had with that was when I tried to stop. Or when I did stop, not tried. I just stopped. I poured them. Something really dumb. You don't do that. Don't pour your medicine down the toilet. Really dumb idea, because then all the fish get fucked up and all the people get fucked up. Really bad idea. So I did that though to prove it, and then washed them and like that. So like that, you know, I knew I could beat it. I can beat this. This thing doesn't even breathe. How can it beat me? You know, got rid of that thing. Didn't realize you can't do that. If you've been on it for 6 years and you just stop, dude, guess what? You're gonna die because I didn't realize it was worse to stop. Right, so I started going into this craziness and got to the hospital, and my heart went to 25, and the alarms are going off, and they come running in, and all this, and I'm kind of zombieing, and they finally get me back and everything, and they figure out what's going on, so they pump some of that shit into me, some kind of narcotic into me, so it got me back there. And then I went on the program to get off, taper with, you know, whatever the thing is, you get off opiates with that one. And did that for a little bit, got off them. That's been since 2010. So I'm 10 years out now.
That's a lot of discipline.
Yeah, but I had to because it was affecting everything, you know. But what I did learn is that it actually creates something in your system physically that it causes pain. Pain medicine can cause pain. So you take pain pills to have pain ultimately when you take it too much.
The pharmaceutical industry loves that.
That's right. That's how it goes, yeah. But fortunately got out of that. But so the surgeries kind of set me back. I kept playing music the best that I could. And it was kind of, I haven't ever been able to come all the way back. I'm like 90-some% full, you know. I can't play the full Metallica stuff. I couldn't do the show anymore like that. So, right, so that, as the times went by in the earlier years, what if you would have stayed, what if, you know, that kind of thing. And everybody, except for maybe my sister, my wife, and my dad, and my brothers, my mom, like, you do you. They were in it close enough with me. They went to enough shows. They saw enough of the backstage stuff. They saw what took place. And they're like, we get it. We get it. Okay, you do you. We'll be around for you like that. But everybody else, whether they knew me or they called me Jason anyway because they knew my name, but I didn't know them, there's millions of those people, and they all had something to say about it. How in the hell could you do that? You're throwing away tens of millions of dollars. Why would you do that? Why would you step out of the biggest, best band of all time and all, what are you thinking? I'm like, am I in your shoes right now? No. Are you in mine? Then shut up. You have nothing. You don't know where I've been. Yeah, and you. Right, and but it took me a while to convince them, and so, like, as I think about that, what if, they go, you know what, it worked out exactly like it was supposed to. I'm not saying I could have planned it or anything like that, but I'm saying if I wouldn't have did what I did when I did it, they wouldn't have been able to survive to they're stronger than ever now. They used to play.
It's hard enough, but then to have all this pressure, right? People are like, what are you doing?
Yes. So it took for the years to subside, which is really nice. And now I've been out 19 years. And so it's a whole, I got my own, I've had a whole other 2 or 3 lifetimes since I was in that big thing that provided all of this for me. So because I worked hard when I did and played 200 shows a year and did all that thing, they only have to play 40 shows a year now to make the same money as 200 back then. Because they've been
still having substance abuse problems.
Yes, they are, but they've been touring for 37 years, and that's the only way you're going to be able to make that kind of money. Is you've been touring for 37 years with the same members and stuff, right? So I'm proud of them for that. I'll never talk a bad word about anything like that or the guys. They gave me my chance in my life, and I worked as hard as I could. I always treated, always with the fans. Something back here told me I have to spend every minute I can with the people because it's not always going to be like this. And so I did. That was my thing. They made fun of me for how much time I spent with the fans. They ridiculed me for how much time I spent with the fans. And now I wouldn't change one thing. I had my doubts at a certain time, but now I know. The music I'm playing with the Chop House Band is what I'm able to play. And sometimes it gets vicious, and sometimes it gets nice and ugly and all that stuff. But I know I can play this forever. This music and the Johnny Cash, I can play sitting right here, or laying right there, or dancing around over there. I can still play this music. I know for a fact I cannot play the way that I would want to play in Voivod, Metallica, any of those bands. I don't have the physicality to do that anymore. So, peace of mind.
Forming this band, this is music that you can continue with
for
a
sure,
really long time.
For sure, forever.
It's root stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's something you're comfortable with.
Yep, and not as physically challenging, and I can call the shots. I only do 6, like I said, 6 shows a year, and I do them right, and they're associated with the right people, and the effects. Look at the effects that we've had, that we're getting, results that we're getting just for the Lighthouse thing.
Have you recorded anything, or you?
We are. So if you look around, we got all the mics and we got the Pro Tools set up and everything. So we just started recording. Yeah. But anyway, so we just started recording every day and getting a little more serious about things. I've written 20 songs in the past 10 months, and so we've been working on. This is gonna be my first time in 7 years that I'm working on a record. So it's a real thing. Yep, it's a real thing now.
What's the maybe time frame for that? Next year? This year?
I would love to have the release party blowout holy craziness at the Malls in April 1st, April 2021 at the Malls Theater. Yep, that's my goal, is to cue it up in December, let people know it's going to happen, and then we'll do our art show again in February, and then we'll do the Malls and release the record. That's what I'd like to happen. I got a spot in Nashville picked out that I'd like to go, and a producer guy and stuff, so we'll see. But
it's not that far away.
No, it's not. No. And we're working on it every week, so it's very exciting, that part of it. But the
But it's going to be a mix of some covers and originals.
No originals. There's 2 songs that we've gotten from songwriters that haven't been recorded yet. That we've made our own. I don't really consider those covers, though.
And then the rest is you.
Mm-hmm.
So when you sit down to write now, how do you approach it?
Have a guitar that's very comfortable, and usually something old,
I mean, do you come up with is it like a riff first or a lyric or?
Certain instruments have certain songs in them and you already know it. So you grab one of those instruments, you set yourself up for success. And in my case, I build a drum program first. So I have on my iPad, just in GarageBand, and I picture what's going to happen. I do an intro and the drum part and the drum part and then the verse, chorus, bridge, chorus, boom, out, and build the drum part. So it's, you know, and then once I put that on, I don't really have to think about anything other than catching what I'm doing. I have to make sure to capture it.
How do you do a melody?
So the drum motivates, I'm playing by myself. So the motivation that comes from the part makes the song. So if the drums go, that's the beat, then automatically in my head, I got the guitar in my hands. I press the thing, and it starts playing that beat. Like that, and I just let it come, just like with a painting. Open up, let it pour in, hit it, capture it. So there's not.
So do you think that comes from your background as a bass player, though, because you're part of that sort of backbeat of the song?
Yes.
So
Yes. Yep. And I think I'd probably, the initial part, I play kind of more bass-like on the guitar, which I do anyway, but play a couple strings only on the guitar, writing the melody out with the bigger strings, and then get the other jangly stuff after a little bit. But the structure is built with kind of caveman style, but it just, or punk rock, man caveman style. I like that. It just shows up. And then, and just think about the melody to put on top, and
that's the nether thing that nobody can ever really describe.
Yeah.
What just shows up. But of course, it's 40-something years of it just shows up.
That's right. That's right. It really is about you know, different people have taken it at different levels. They already have, some guys don't have to practice as much to already be that good. And some guys have to practice a lot just to be to the same place as those guys. So there's aptitude and natural talent that comes. But the more you allow yourself to tap into that place, like not stream of consciousness necessarily, but very close. So when if you're to visualize it, I can stand or sit this tall with my hands up and I'm open. If I just reach a little more into that spot, then I tap into that place, and then it just comes. And so the more times you open up that channel, the freer it flows when you reach to it. So if it's in a painting, you have your markers and your colors chosen. You might even have I've already written some words on there or something to get some kind of an idea. And you step back and you look at it, and you start looking for the faces and looking for the creatures and looking for the ideas, and you have a weapon in each hand, a pen in each hand, a paintbrush in each hand, and you look at it and you tap in and it goes whoop, and you just hit it, and it just happens. Like the balance and everything else, it just becomes a thing. So the same thing with the song. Write the guitar, tap into the thing, write that basic part as the drums are playing. Action, reaction, counterpoint playing to what the drums are doing. Drums cue me to do that, something simple, something technical, whatever like that, make it through. There's usually 5 parts in a song, A, B, C, D, and E, when they kind of revolve around. And so once I get those, get the guitar part simple, just how it worked out part-wise, 5 or 6 minutes worth, pick up the bass, and put the bass on it.
So do you write it down, or you're recording it?
Just everything is just at the record everything, just record it with the iPad. So and on my phone, if I have to have the idea and I don't want to go into where the drums are yet and put it on the official drums, just hit the phone, get that idea, play it back, like that. So then once the guitar part's on there, then I can play the bass. Once I've been able to put the bass on the drum track, I take everything back off, and then you can see that you play the drum and the bass together and it's going, right? It does that.
You actually play the drum.
Program the drum and play all the stringed instruments like this. Yeah. So once the bass and the drums are there, then I can come back with anything else, any keyboard, any guitar, any mandolin, anything, once that's there.
And it's all math. In a
Yeah,
sense.
absolutely,
I
absolutely.
mean, it's math, but it isn't math because math is so precise.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're talking about opening up and tapping into
Mm-hmm.
that thing,
Mm-hmm.
that's not math.
No,
You know,
no, that's
metaphysical.
spirit.
Spirit.
Mm-hmm.
And the same with the art. Remember you talk about going into a zone
Yes.
when you're doing the
Yep.
art.
And I'm sure that all the other schools of artists and musicians, they have their own way to find that too. But, you know, watch a Tom Petty interview, man. He'd tell you the same thing. It's like, I ain't arguing with nothing, this is happening, you know.
Basically.
Yeah.
I mean, you
Most
didn't
of-
go to art school really. You
No.
took a week of music lessons.
One day.
I mean, it's really fascinating.
Most of the guys that I've played in bands with, or that are my comrades, or what I consider peers, are all self-taught. There's very few that are from.
Came out of the schools.
Our violinist, right? He's self-taught from age 5, proper, and that's common, but not on like rock metal bass thing, man. It's not like we're going to start at 5 and learn Mozart. You know, that's not the same trip. You know. Yeah. So, but all the guys in Metallica are self-taught. All the, you know, Exodus, Maiden.
Well, you're saying if you reach for that channel, whatever you're saying every day, it gets easier to do.
Oh yes, the more you tap, just like with anything. Yes, you keep that channel open, then it's going to come to you much quicker, much easier, for sure. And it doesn't really matter the medium once you get that tapped. Yeah. Yep. And it's just there. You know, you got to keep chasing it. That's been my motto the whole time. You got to keep chasing it. No matter. I'm not going to sit back on laurels. You know, there's a couple things. If we're going to do Bragtown, you know, go on the freaking inner tube there and read out the 4 albums of all time that have been on the Billboard charts for 500 weeks or more. 4. Okay, there's 800 records a month for how many years? 60 years? Yeah. 4. Well, one of those is Metallica's Black Album. And then Bob Marley and the Wailers, and Tom Petty, and Eagles' Greatest Hits, you know. Metallica. They die. Those guys. One of the 4. Yeah. You know, so just that thing in itself, the work that we did then, the amount of males 12 to 20 years old that would dig into the music from 1991 to 99 and pay for the CDs and pay for the t-shirts before they got stolen. Right? That's what we caught. We caught that wave. And we thrived on that. And we did the right thing. And we kept working hard. You know? So now we can do what we want. That's the whole deal. Work that hard, do it right, keep chasing it. I'm not going to stop chasing it. You know? Yeah. It's not going to stop dreaming, not going to stop aspiring. Yeah. But on my own terms, though. That's kind of the deal. You know, that's when we go back to that thing where everybody's going, what the hell are you doing? The managers, everybody, the record company, the 4,000 people that were waiting for their paycheck the next week, and I freaking left. And they're all, what are you doing to us? You know, I'm saving my life. Have you heard of that before? You know, I got to look out for me first. Sorry.
You had to defend yourself.
Yeah, but it was the right thing because I truly believe there's no way the band would still be going. They wouldn't have done their next thing. They wouldn't have done a thing where they had to prove themselves to themselves again and to me. We can do this without you. They had to do that too, and that maybe the first few months or whatever, but it wouldn't have developed into what it is now if I wouldn't have stepped out when I did because my energies and that were not right within it, and I could have tarnished them and messed with them unwillingly or not, you know, not meaning to, but I felt in such a funk. I was already on drugs, man, when I quit the band. I was already on Vicodin when I quit the band. Before I had surgeries, I was already, you know, this back here, watch a couple videos. All right, none of this is in line. Any of this none of it's in line. If you like that enough times, right? I was on those painkillers every night before I had any surgeries. And that's all I wanted. When I went to talk to those guys, I called the meeting, like, you guys, I'm sick, right? We need to take a year off, please, please. We can't, we got this, and I go, dude, you missed your son's first birthday. Don't you want to be here for a second? Because it's not their idea, so it's, yeah. And the managers, we got to keep going, we got to keep going. I'm like, you know what? after I looked around about an hour later in that meeting, when they were just on to the next thing, as if, you know, on to the next thing after 15 years of slugging it out. I mean, I helped you buy your brownstone and remodel your kitchen. Don't forget that. Me going, die. That's what bought your kitchen. Okay, just remember that shit. You were not sweating your balls off out there, or freezing your nuts off in the middle of Sweden, you know, in the middle of whatever. Kids come up to you, ask for autographs with blue fingers, literally blue fingers.
They're used to it.
Yeah, I know, but that's still not okay. And he wasn't there doing it. So there's just that kind of thing where you get dismissed like that. Then I knew that was the right thing. I knew it was the right thing at that moment. Like, this is going to be okay for everybody. You watch. You watch. It'll take the dust to settle, 18 months, and they're going to be off again. And they were. You know, and I'm only proud of them. That's it. I'm only going to be a fan and forever. You know.
All right. Pedro was signaling me out there. We got plenty.
Okay. Do we talk about the Chop House Band enough, though? You think?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Sure.
I just want to say, is it still going? I just want to say that I started the Chop House studio in Walnut Creek, California, in 1992. So when you see on the stickers or on the shirts where it says making music since 1992, that's the real deal. The Chop House Band has been together that long. Okay, yes. So 28 years is the different members. There's been 30 or 40 members in a loose kind of way. We never played live for anybody because the studio was always built as a place for everybody to escape to. When they get away from their tour and they could be home for a second, we could drink a little too much and have some fun and play songs that don't have to have an agenda and not to be so perfect and everything. That's what it was at first. So there's always mixes of people and all colors and sizes and shapes and genres of people that would mix together in the place and make the music and have that fun. So it's been going for that long. But just 3 or 4 years ago, we decided to bring it out and show people what we've been doing that whole time. And so now the members change as we go around in different areas and stuff like that.
Are you going to be playing any of the new stuff in these upcoming two
Yes, yeah. Yeah, the 15th is going to be mostly originals and it'll be heavy, like electric and, you know, rock and roll and stuff. And the 29th is unplugged with extra friends. So we're going to have keyboard player, violinist, banjo, all that stuff on the 29th.
All right.
Thank you.
Yeah.